that run was 4.2 miles. It doesn't matter. Sometimes the match might go longer than you think. You got to be ready for it. I said, yeah, but 4.2 miles is an eternity. That was the first time. That was my second year at Iowa. I was like, Gable might be crazy. But I'm crazy, so you got to match your crazies up and see if it's going to work for you. But that was the first time I thought that I might have been in trouble, like over my head.
This is the Full Tilt Podcast with Hatch.
Welcome, everyone, to our initial episode. Really super excited to have the elite storytellers, the elite legends of the sport of wrestling on this podcast. Today is no exception. We have the one, the only, the fall guy, and legend, Royce Alger.
Hey.
Royce, what's happening?
Oh, not too much. I decided Mike's been trying to get me out here to do some work at his club for quite a while, the Young Guns.
Mm-hmm.
So I finally relented. I have an opening. So I came out and enjoyed Nashville, and we saw some sights, and we put down about 2 hours of curriculum for these kids and trying to get them to man up. And I was excited to see your setup here at, what was the name of that school we were at?
Oh, Montgomery Bell Academy.
Shout
out to Patrick Simpson and his crew.
I've never seen a school more innate and ornate than that high school. I mean, I don't even want to know what the tuition is there, but they had an indoor training, indoor football field.
Oh, it's just
in this tepid weather. You had that.
It's like Iowa,
City guys. Yeah,
we need to have an Iowa instead, right?
No, I was pretty impressed. And plus, we went to, what was the name of that wrestling event that I went here a couple of years ago?
National Collegiate Duels.
Yeah, I went
Shout
there.
out to our boy Frank Papalizio. Puts on the best events in the country.
Yeah, we went out there, and my son, who's trying to make it like 50,000 other people in Nashville, trying to make it in country music. He played in the halftime.
Yeah,
so it was a good way to segue to come out here, and I kind of fell in love with Nashville, except for your traffic. Your traffic sucks out here.
Yes, it does. It keeps getting worse. Just a little intro with Royce. I've known Royce forever, and anybody that's listening to this podcast probably not only has heard of Royce Alger, but knows really what he's about, what he's been about, and as a competitor and coach and everything. But obviously, former coach at the University of Iowa, 3-time state champ in Iowa, 3-time Big Ten champ, 2-time NCAA champ, 2-time World Cup gold medalist, 1990 World Silver, 3-time U.S. Open champ, and a 2-time Pan American gold medalist. Now the current head coach of the Titan Mercury Wrestling Club. Man, Royce, really, really appreciate your time here. And I tell you what, of all the athletic accomplishments that Royce has back in the day, and all the coaching accomplishments that he's still accruing, Royce is probably well known as one of the greatest, not only personalities, but storytellers in the whole history of the sport of wrestling. And that's what we got him on here for. So I'm going to get right. We're getting right to it. We're coming in hot. Royce, I want one of your funniest Iowa wrestling stories from back in the day. What do you got for us?
Oh,
teeing it up right now, Royce.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, I know he got Randy Lewis is going to be on here eventually, and he's stolen a couple of my stories and asked me to never tell them because it's his favorite stories. And I accused him of story stealing, and I think there is a bylaw somewhere that you can't steal a story. But I'm gonna start out with the gate just to show you how incredulous this story is. That people won't believe it, but. I was lucky enough, just like Matt. Matt grew up we were born in the same hospital. I don't know if people know that, but we were from Iowa. And the main name in the state of Iowa, and probably every state in the union, is Gable. Everybody knows Dan Gable. And he's the man. Everyone knows that he went undefeated for 2 years, and not 2 years, for like all high school and all college. Anyway, I just got done winning 2 national titles for him. I went to my first international tournament. It was the Sunkist Open. And I wrestled guys like Schultz and Melvin Douglas and, world-class guys right out of the gate. That was the qualifier back in the day. If you wanted to go to Tbilisi, that was the toughest tournament in the world. You had to go win that tournament. And then you got to go to Russia to represent our country. So I went there. I went undefeated for 2 years, and I went to Sunkist, and I took second. I got beat 3-2 in the finals by Melvin Douglas. And I'm coming into the room. This is a great story because it's going to involve Gable. I was coming into the room to sit down, and Gable was giving the wrestlers a bunch of grief about not coming into practice early and being ready to go at 3:00. He goes, and we're tired of this. We gotta start coming in and punching the clock. We got to be here at 3. People coming in late, people not ready to go, not tying their shoes up. We got to be ready to go. We got to go represent and blah blah blah. And I just walked in the whole crowd. We have these bleachers in our room before practice, and Gable was talking to us. They all turned to me, and Gable thought it was an opportune time to basically throw me under the bus. And he goes, "Isn't that right, Melvin?" So Melvin Douglas is the guy who beat me. I hadn't lost in 2 years, and I was like, it was like somebody threw a cold glass of water on me. and I looked at him real quickly, and like I always do with a quick thinking on my feet, and I said, "What's that, Larry?" So, Mike's laughing right now, but Larry Owing is the only guy to beat Gable in high school and college, and Gable thought he'd throw me under the bus. And I looked at him, and when I said, "What's that, Larry?" he ran into the other room. He could not believe I said that. Just how brazen and crazy he thinks I am. It's kind of like bad medicine. The Indians, and I generally live by the adage, if you can't find anything nice to say, at least have the decency to be vague. So I threw that back at him, but that story gets told to me by all of those guys that were on the bench because they were like quiet. They were like third graders watching their mom and dad get in a fight. No one's going to say anything, especially if mom's really fighting. So it's like, okay, Alger just called Dan Gable Larry, the only loss he had in college and in high school, and how's Gable going to respond? And Gable could not believe I said it. To this day, I talked to Gable 30 minutes today. He's down in Florida right now. We talked about sauna and stuff, but to this day, he still can't believe I called him Larry in front of everybody. He goes, you're either crazy or the toughest guy I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, both could be very true.
Well, I don't know,
but speaking of Gable, I mean, obviously that, and I loved my 5 years that I was there, and he's been such a huge impact on my life and impact on yours and everybody else that he's come in contact with. But what was I know that I did it quite often, but there had to be a time when I know you were probably excited and going to wrestle at University of Iowa for Dan Gable, but coming out very successful high school wrestler. Well, there had to be a slap in the face at one point in time. Maybe it's a Gable workout. Maybe it was some type of adversity right out the jump at Iowa that made you think, man, I don't know. I'm not sure here.
I tell you what, I don't know. There's one time that I knew that we were always suspected that he might be crazy. And I remember one time we were doing the long loop. You remember the long loop around the golf course and it was a 4.2 mile loop.
Oh yeah.
And I was going out, and this was the day I was going to beat Barry Davis. Barry Davis is a story in itself. We could do 5 podcasts on him. He lived in the dorms all the years of his career in the dorms, and he took a silver in the Olympics in '84, and he was our starter in '85. So he would keep his medal on his wall, and I'd ride my bicycle down in Hillcrest. It was too far to walk. So I'd ride my bicycle in the halls down to his room to look at that silver medal every day. So he he inspired me, unbelievable. But
Cedar Rapids Prairie guy.
Cedar Rapids Prairie.
Yes,
but I remember one time I said, all right, I'm tired of that damn Davis winning all these long rails. His wife, Nan, she won the 10,000 meter Division I title. So he was getting outside workouts that we weren't a party to. So I showed up there and ready to go, and we're ready to start. We start out, and he takes off like a bat out of hell, and we're running. It's 4.2 miles. So we're coming down the stretch, and I was a sprinter. I was a rusher, and I had a rushing record for 43 years at my high school. So I'm a sprinter. I was just waiting that last 70 yards. And I was getting up there just ready to pass him. We had about 20 yards left to go, and he was going a million mile an hour. But I timed the kick. I kind of played in the sand a little bit, kind of sandbagging a little bit, and then turned it on. And I was just ready to pass him that last 10 years. And Gable saw it, and his eyes got big, and he goes, "All right, one more." And I'm like, both Barry and I stopped, and I was more pissed than Barry because I was going to win my first time. And he goes, "That effing Gable, effing this and effing that," and they were throwing the Jesus Chryslers out there, and Johnny Regan was past us, that effing Jesus Chrysler, blah 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 blah. And Johnny Regan passed us both because I just started walking. Barry and I just started walking because we just ran the whole thing. We beat everybody about 110 yards, and we're going to have to run another one more because he got so excited. I remember Johnny Regan running by us going, "He's a good man. He's a good man, guys. Jesus Christ is a good man." So we ended up running again, but it didn't matter. I mean, we were so mad at Gable for saying one more because Gable got caught up into it. I go,
he did all the time. It was all.
Why would you say that? It was 4.2 miles. That run was 4.2 miles. It doesn't matter. Sometimes the match might go longer than you think. You got to be ready for it. I said, yeah, but 4.2 miles is an eternity if you're running, 5:30 miles. So that was a time when I had to really question that maybe he was like, didn't have our best interests at hand. I about died out there. It was about 85 degrees. It was early September. Mm-hmm. So that was the first time. That was my second year at Iowa. I was like, Gable might be crazy, but I'm crazy. So got to match your crazies up and see if it's going to work for you. But that was the first time I thought that I might have been in trouble, or like over my head. I can make it analogous to somebody swimming out and getting caught in a riptide or something. You're like, oh shit, I'm so tired right now. I'm not gonna make it back to shore, and I got a crazy man out there with a whip. So that's the answer to your question. That's the long answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody's got those stories with him. He's
well, they call it Gable time. There was never any. Yeah. Remember, still to this day, it's Gable time.
Yeah. Kurt Angle wrote about it in his book.
Yeah, Gable time. We have people that come that are not indigenous to the state of Iowa. They come out and they go in there 30 seconds. And you're timing in your head. You're almost, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. I said, dude, I wouldn't try to be holding him to 30 seconds. Well, he said 30 seconds. I mean, he might see 2 or 3 different goes and get involved in them. Another minute, and then you're the 30 seconds, 10 more seconds, and then just screw around with the time. Like, time is linear. It doesn't have any value in that room. I said, Gable, why do you even say that? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You don't know what's going to happen. So those mind games, and there's some people that are very pragmatic, like my buddy Eric Pearson. Mm-hmm. He's from Missouri, and they sell cattle down there, and they got land. And if you're on their land illegally, they're going to shoot you. That's just the way things work down there. Very pragmatic, and you say your mind is your word, and this and that, and there's sale barns, they just shake hands on it. Well, I shook on it, and it frustrated him so much, he about had to leave the program. I can't trust him. He said 30 seconds and 3 minutes later, I can't trust a guy like that.
Alger, but it's funny though that like hearing it from like your perspective, who's obviously accomplished elite. I mean, when I was there for 4.5 years, and I probably wrestled Coach Gable more than anybody on the team. He would literally grab me, whether it be mid practice, end of practice, whatever, for the last 4.5 years of my career there. And it was not only like one more, 30 seconds, 30 more seconds, blah, 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 blah. He would literally be doing this to me while he's on top of me with my arm behind my back. And so I'm thinking, 30 more seconds, I just got to hold on. And 3 minutes later, he's still got my arm behind my back and he's still coaching practice. You guys actually just had to do it while you're wrestling somebody else.
Yeah, he had people that he grabbed.
Oh yeah, I was.
You were one of them. Kelly Miller, just certain
Miller
guys, certain guys got their stories. Because that's how he got a sweat in and got it worked out. And he would just grab. Plus, he was phenomenal on top. So he'd just do that. He'd just stay on top and.
Now is that where you got a lot of your top work? I mean, you were a monster on top too. I mean, that was
No. In the guys that are above me, I'm fourth on the pin list. Mm-hmm. But the guys that are above me
hence the name Fall Guy.
Yeah, but all the guys above me were the three guys above me were Andy Lewis, who's a pinning machine and a freak. But the other guys were heavier, Bed Manning. Those guys, you get those pins, just that weight gets over and they get close. But not your athletes. If you look at your best, and I'm not bragging, but I don't care if it sounds like it anyway.
You said one time, I hate to stop you there, but you told you used to have the saying, and you said it often enough, but it holds very true. It's not bragging if you've done it.
Yeah, no, it's not bragging if you've done it. So I'm 62, so I'm 60 years old. So, I always said it's just harder because if you look at all your professional sports, your best athletes are right there about 185, 180, 185. Now, that used to be smaller back in the day, but right now it's closer to 200. Those are your athletes, guys that can dunk a ball. I'd like to know how much Michael Jordan weighs, or Carl Lewis weighs. But you get up heavier, you don't have the athleticism, and you get lighter, it's just not. They're just not there. Not that those guys can't wrestle, because I was on world teams with John Smith, who was phenomenal. But your athletes, you're seeing the athletic that wins 100-yard dashes and stuff. They're all about $180, So I always said I had to pin a lot of real good athletes. Mm-hmm. You get those bigger heavyweights, they get a little tippy.
We're just talking about like the guys that you wrestled yesterday at the clinic, and I mean I asked you point blank in front of all the kids. Is there any other? You said that you told that story yesterday about your last U.S. Open and you beat 2 Olympic champions at the same U.S. Open, and I don't know if there is anybody else has ever done that.
Well, they did an article. No, they did an article about that. It might have been done internationally, but not in the United States. Mm-hmm. Where a guy beat 2 Olympic gold medalists, and it just happened to be in the U.S. Open. So that's not a little cavalier tournament. You show up in a podunk tournament, but that was a tough tournament that year, and that's what you're trained to do and you're expected to do when you reach a certain level. So, I always said I was among the sharks too. My hit list is unbelievable with the guys that I had to make that Olympic team in '92. I had to wrestle through Dave Schultz, Melvin Douglas, and Kevin Jackson. That's 3 world champs right there. So they talk about parity now. About you got Dake and Burroughs the same way. We had that 4 of us. Mm-hmm. The only one that could be close would be Burroughs, Dake, and Taylor when they were trying to make that team for Rio. Mm-hmm. But it's good to have that parity because that's what we need, and that's what we need in at Iowa right now. I'm always a Hawkeye. I talked to Tom Brand's half hour this morning. Mm-hmm. We need where your backups can go to another school and win it, and that's what we're getting back to, and certainly the tables have changed for a lot of this NL money.
It's crazy.
Can you believe being as a junior high school being offered $5 million to come to Iowa?
It's unbelievable.
I'm not going to mention any names, but you guys kind of know.
Yeah.
It is. My ex-father-in-law called me about 2 weeks ago, and he goes, "Man, did you see that? He turned down that money for $5 million." I said, "Where the hell? was that $5 million back when you went? And I said, yeah, I know.
Right.
I missed the boat. And he goes, we all did.
We were just talking about that the other day. Like, man, just think what you and Lubu and Rico would have been worth back in the day. My goodness.
Well, I would have spent a third on alcohol, another third on women, and I'd have probably just blown the rest.
Yeah, because it wasn't all work back in the day. It was work and play. You guys worked hard and played hard back in the day, didn't you?
Oh,
This is like legendary stuff. I mean, I literally tell people about how you guys. I couldn't even imagine like what transpired back in your day with that crew you ran with.
Well, and I want to preface what I just said. That was an old Babe Ruth. He said I'd spend a third on alcohol and a third on debauchery, and the other third I just blew. So I'm not going to try to take credit for that, and I don't want to get in trouble for that. But I always said that I came along during the perfect time for me, though. I tell people I had a PhD when I left the farm, and they go, PhD? I said, yeah, poor, hungry, and driven. And that's what you want. You want just a little bit of angst to you. And I was a recruiter for Dan Gable for about 9 years. I always looked at their socioeconomics. Mm-hmm. And if the guys had a little bit of money and they had a nice car and maybe an ancillary vehicle that they took on trips, and I would shy away from them a little bit. I would go more towards the guys that had nothing, because you're going to fight a lot more. Now this money's changed the whole dynamic, the paradigm of money and wrestling and this and that. When you got money, everything seems okay, but when you're not and you got to go win that U.S. Open, maybe you're 4 months behind on rent. That's why I went over, and that'll be a whole nother podcast going to the Foxcatcher. I was the first Hawkeye to come over there. So I've seen a lot. At 60, I can really look back. I'm in the process of collecting stories for my own book, and it's going to be more along the level of this podcast, more cavalier and not takes ourselves too serious, but drive home some point. Everybody's got a serious, no matter what happens, somebody out there will take something too serious, that's not my style. That's not my style.
Well, you mentioned Foxcatcher, and you mentioned competing against Dave Schultz back in the day, but you were also very, very tight with him. You had a great relationship with him.
Yeah. Now we wrestled a couple times, and
what was it like wrestling that guy? I mean,
it was phenomenal. And you ask about stories. I'll give you a story. Yeah. So I was one of the first ones to go to Foxcatcher, to go out there. Rico Ciparelli lived out there, so I don't really put him in that encapsulate him there, but he was the Foxcatcher too. But I was the one that left the Hawkeyes, and I said, I'm not leaving you guys. I'm just coming out there because they got great partners out there. So I went out there, and I showed up for workout, and there was a limousine to pick me up at the Philadelphia airport.
Oh, NIL.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, right. Well, he was NIL before NIL was out. So I got in. They had a big sign. First time anybody's ever had a sign that said Royce Alger. And I was like, wow, this is a whole different world. You ever had that when you got off a plane and they got your name? I mean, think about it. Guy dressed up like a guy like out of the movies. So I went in there and they drove me straight to practice. I came and put my bags down, and I was going to get a sauna, but the workout was in the middle. The workout started at 3. So it was about 4:20. So I was watching workout, and I went to a sauna afterwards. But in the middle of the workout, Dave Schultz, who I'd never met before, came up and asked me if I'd go tomorrow, the next day. And I said, okay. And he said, good, 1:00. Okay. Then I was like, I looked up on the list thinking they changed workout, and it wasn't. It was at 3:00 tomorrow. He wants to go at 1. So I go in there. Have you ever watched the movie Apocalypse Now? Kind of an austere, kind of ominous feeling when you get there. I walked in there, and the room, it was a long wrestling room, and there's 4 mats, and it was dark and sullen. It was just like, somebody's going to die in here. And I was hoping it wasn't me. So I go over there, and he's putting his shoes on against the wall. So I came over there, and I slid down. I'm going to put my shoes on. with him. And that's kind of a rite of, how you say, how you doing, I'm going to put my shoes on. We're both putting our shoes on. And he got up and we went to the other side of the room. I'm like, okay, this guy's playing head games with me. He's a legend. He's already a 4 or 5-time world medalist, Olympic gold medalist. I said, okay. I hadn't lost a workout in 2 years. So I'm like, okay, he wants this. We're going to go. So there was a huge swimmer clock up on the wall, and it clicked, you could see what time it was, just clean as day. It was probably 3 foot wide, 3 foot deep, whatever. And exactly at 1 o'clock, he took the center, and he dropped down to one knee. So I'm not going to let that some bitch get lower than me. So I drop down and he goes, go. And he jumps over and he front headlocks me. And I post my hand on my knee, and he's caught just enough of my shoulders driving into my jugular vein, but I'm posted out. And he's not gonna, but his grip was so strong and so tenacious. I never felt like the gears of a machine. That's what it felt like. Have you ever stuck your hand into something that's moving? You know what I'm talking about, like a garage door. You just feel it coming, And after about, I'd say about 4 minutes, he didn't leave that position. It was just kind of like a snake around you. And I don't remember anything after that. And I woke up and I looked at the clock, and it was 12 after 1, and I was out. And he was splashing. He made 2 trips to the locker room, or to the room where the medicine is and the ice and all that stuff. And he was putting rags on me and ice on me and woke me up. And I had a bad headache. And I just got up and I said, I'm never wrestling you unless there's somebody around. Because he probably could have killed me. But that was kind of his way of peeing on the trees around in the bushes. I never thought ill of him for it. I just knew there were guys out there like that. I just never felt one before.
Yeah. Wow.
So, you have a certain responsibility of safety when you're wrestling somebody and you're out of position and stuff. But that was there's no written agreement between lions and lambs. Mm-hmm. You're going into battle, and you better be vigilant, because there's guys out there that will take you out. And it was the first time I ever felt for the fear of my life. And what's crazy about that story is I told it to Randy Lewis one time, and he was bawling. I'll let him tell his story, but he was bawling. He did it to me too. And then Tom Brands, who was driving the car, goes, he did it to me too. So we all have that first experience of death, of like, okay, this guy almost killed us. But that was a great learning lesson, to be vigilant, because there's times it gets a little heady. You start swatting and it's just you two working out. You can choke a guy to death, and you feel it. And that was the first time I ever felt anything like that. And I got a lot of respect for him too. I love the guy.
Yeah, because you guys obviously your relationship. I
sang at his funeral. I sang at his funeral a cappella. They asked me if I could pull off a song. I said, of course I can. Back in those days.
Yeah, of course I can. That's spoken like true Royce Alger.
Of course.
Come on.
I sang.
Ask a question.
I sang the song Heroes and Friends by Randy Travis.
Oh, that's a great song.
I ain't lived forever, but I've lived enough.
Still do it.
Yeah.
Still do it. Step aside, Eli. Step aside. Old dad's coming in.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so Schultz, obviously you wrestled him in competition a couple of times, but would you consider him, he would probably, he's at anybody at your weight class had been one of your nemesises, but you had a lot of them back in the day, a lot of nemesises, a lot of...
the first time I saw Dave Schultz wrestle live, he had teched Kevin Jackson in 1989 at that same Sunkiss tournament I was in.
Oh, wow.
And I defer not to talk about my matches with him. He was a 63-pounder moving up to 180. So I don't, that guy's done so much for wrestling. I was let's just put it this way. It was a wonderful thing to have him around my career. And also I'm one of those guys that got to say I got to wrestle Chris Campbell. I trained with him.
What was that like?
Chris Campbell was phenomenal. That's the best I've ever put my hands on.
Really? I was just going to ask you.
No, he was the best I've ever put my hands on.
I mean, that's like all international guys, all Americans, everybody.
No one's not from what I felt.
Wow.
Now I wrestled with John Smith, and that's not the same, but the best guy at my weight, contemporary. Chris Campbell was 30, I think maybe 37 or 38 when he took that bronze.
Yeah.
And he lost to Kadartsev in the semifinals by 1 point. So, I mean, he was right there. So, be able to do that. He's one of my guys I look up to. So, and I've wrestled some. I was telling you on the ride over here, 40 years ago, this weekend, I started my trek to become a legend. And they said, what do you mean by legend? I said, in order to become a legend, you got to beat a legend. And I wrestled Andre Metzger in the finals of the Midlands in 1985 and beat him 9-8.
Wow.
So that was the first step. When I could beat guys that have literally moves named after them, the Metzger. If anybody knows anything about wrestling on this podcast, a Metzger is a formative, just a great move. It's a very, very strong defensively and offensive move. It's done, with position and leverage. And he actually Metzgered me right at the end. I stepped out of it and Metzgered him.
Really?
And Gable goes, shot him with your own gun. And I love Metzger to this day. He came to my house and slept on my couch.
Wow.
And Randy Lewis lives with me. Randy Lewis, unfortunately, he's a double stroke victim. We don't make any, and he's been living with me now for about 6 years. So it's kind of like the brotherhood. We call ourselves, we have the Heisman house.
Yeah. So we're going to get the Heisman house. That's going to be another podcast.
That'll be his. I'm not going to mention any of his stories, but Andre Metzger came to my house about 2 years ago, and I get a knock on my door, and I open up, and I'm like, who the hell? It was snowing out, and he goes, who the hell is? It's Andre Metzger. He goes, yeah, Randy Lewis invited me over, blah, blah. I said, well, come on in. So he comes on in, and he sits down, and I'm turning the TV down because Randy likes to listen to it at the highest level. And I said, Randy, we're going to go visit here. So I was talking, and I go, Andre, can I get you anything? He goes, yeah, I wouldn't mind if you make me a ham sandwich and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And maybe a glass of milk and some chips. So I went in there and whipped him up. He ate everything. I'm like, I did ask him.
What was he doing? He just showed up?
He showed up. Randy Lewis invited him. He was going through town or something. So he slept on my couch. But 40 years ago, and I'll never forget, because I was 6th seed in the Midlands. I wasn't Royce Alger yet. I was just an aspiring Royce Alger, if you can do that. and they kept on there. And Andre Metzger ranked, because he had lost to Fedzayev in the world at 149. I was at 158. But Fedzayev moved up. So he became ranked number 1 ranked in the world. Wow. Of course, he was ranked number 2 in the world.
Yeah.
Ranked number 1 in the world, Andre Metzger. The girl that does that. Not the guy, but Sally, right? And like everybody else is shaking like a dog passing hammer handles. And I'm sitting back there with Dan Gable. I'm back there with Dan Gable, and I'm like, I'm with Dan Gable. I don't worry about that guy.
Yeah.
I got legends back here. That's the big thing. That's the big thing about really becoming a legend is you're around other people, contemporaries that have those goals and have those. It takes that shininess off them. Like, oh shit! I just had lunch with him the other day. He's a 2-time now. I can do that.
Yeah.
He eats the same way I do. He's working in the same room I am. So I always said a lot of those national titles were won right there in that sauna, just listening to stories. I just wanted to have a story to shut somebody else up in there. Then you win 1 national title, then you got to win. How many did you win? Well, I got to at least win 2. I mean, it's just going to be a 1. Then you got U.S. Opens, and then you got world medals. How many world medals you got? Because that's the true mark I tell everybody I went off to my very first world championships. I took silver. I was so proud of that. I took it home and had it bronzed.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
Well,
yeah, Terry Brands once said he always had this little figure speech. Said if the sauna walls could talk.
Oh my God! That's
what's I mean, you got to have one story that sticks out, Royce. In the sauna, give us one Iowa wrestling story from back in the day. In the sauna. In the sauna.
I gotta get rid of this guy. Hold on here. I don't know. I'm so damn popular. This phone keeps coming off. I was thinking about getting rid of my cell coverage and just start hanging out with everyone that I know. Well, that's busy too. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. Some of the craziest things in the sauna weren't really applicable to wrestling. A lot of it was just hearsay and stories from the night, that you got into trouble.
I remember the first time that I saw you and Tom and Terry with the little rubber gym with the bands doing curls and
bungees.
Presses and bungee stuff in the sauna. I'm like, what are these guys doing? What in the world? And then pretty soon later on I was doing, what am I doing? This is crazy.
No, that little I started those little
bungee stuff.
Yeah. Those were back in '83.
Wow.
So there's a myriad of stories about the sauna. I tell the stories when I first went to I went to a place called Yakutsk. If you look that up, it's Yakutsk. I don't know if that's in Siberia. I believe it is. The farthest east part, almost to where the Bering Sea is. That's how east of Russia it is. I don't know if people realize that Russia and United States, as per Alaska, were once connected. And the saunas there are 8 or 9 tiers.
I heard they were crazy.
Yeah, and you couldn't set up in the top 2 unless you were world medals on the second highest, then only Olympic gold medals got to sit at the top.
Really?
Yeah, and I loved it because I was like, I'm going to freaking sit there someday. And I got, I tried as hard as I could. I took a silver in the world. I went 23-1 the year I did. And I just thought I was going to win the Olympics. I thought I was going to win the Worlds in 91 and the Olympics in 92 and then coach Iowa afterwards, but that's not how it went. A guy that I'd beat 5 in a row and 10-4 in the national finals ended up beating me to make that team, Kevin Jackson. So, well, that's a whole nother.
Which is you said it was the greatest American rivalry in
now
wrestling.
Flow Wrestling.
That's right, I think.
Well, Flow Wrestling said out of all the guys, this is per world medalist and guys that met in the national finals. You don't have Larry Owing going out and winning world titles and then come back. I wrestled Kevin Jackson 18 times. I'm 10-8 against him, and I won I was 7-2 going into that team in '92. So, if we had these other rules right now, and I hope he's listening, if he had these rules where you had to hold the mat, he would have never beat me ever because he wouldn't hold the mat ever. But they can say what they want about that. But I'm still Royce Alger, and I'm going to talk like Royce Alger. So I kind of like these rules, but I missed the NL. I missed the hold the mat rules. So, but you know what? At the end of the day, it's just a bunch of frickin' excuses. You know what I say to people out there? I'm the guy that has to listen to all the guys that almost won a state title and almost won a national or became an All-American. You know what I say to them now? I said, I'm going to stop you right there. And I this might hurt your feelings when you say it, but it would just been a lot easier just to win that damn match. Because everybody's sick and everybody's hurt and everybody this and everybody beat that guy. And I love you. And this sport gets the pain out of you. It's a painful sport. It's similar to a contemporary marriage, I can say.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, I mean, like I said, obviously a lot of
which is why I'm trying to save my divorce.
Oh man, but no, I remember watching you and Jackson go at it. And obviously, you know, I mean, when you guys were competing against each other, Iowa State and that stuff, but just more internationally than when I got to Iowa, you know, obviously you were, you know, still Hawkeye Club stuff, and then watching you guys on the senior level was just, it was, what was the difference between when you made that skip from the college level to the international level? What was that like, that whole transition to being one of the very, very best in our country, and then having to go and go out and
well, I'll tell you what, here's the deal. Here's just how I'm taking my shirt off here. Things are getting sweaty. We're talking about Kevin Jackson and holding the mat and shit. It's getting crazy. I'm going to put my hat on. It's a good thing I'm not wearing any underwear. It is sticky in here. No, here's the deal. I always, everybody that's ever known me, I've always willed myself to win anyway. Mm-hmm. I just, those progressions, I knew I was going to be. In my 4th grade book, I wrote to myself about winning a world title and a national title. So those goals were very early. In fact, it's a funny story. I bumped into the Press Citizen guy when I got inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2012. And he was laughing before I even got to talk to him. And I said, what are you laughing at? He goes, you had the funniest saying or quote I've ever heard when you got inducted in the 12. And I said, what did I say? And you said, I asked you, you know what, you're from Lisbon. That's 20 miles from here. And you went to Iowa. You didn't take any recruiting trips. You didn't go to any other school. You never thought about it. Do you have any regrets? And I said, well, yes, there is one. And he was like, you know, okay, what is it? And I said, well, the only regret I ever had that is never in the Iowa crowd to cheer for myself. and he goes, I wanted to put that so bad, but I didn't think you were serious. I said, you should have put that down. That's exactly how I felt. He goes, have fun. You know, I had another reporter one time, we were out in Colorado Springs, and he goes, well, you train for 2 cycles, and not a lot of people do. You know, that's a long time to train. That's hard on your body. You took a silver medal in the world right away. You know, you're ranked number 1 in the world. Did you ever think about not training? I said, you know, that's funny. I had a lot of friends that told me, you know, be happy with that silver medal, and you're beating your body up. You need to go maybe smell the roses and maybe retire. He goes, well, what did that do? And I said, well, I listened to him, and it kind of motivated me a little bit. I remember that I got up real early one morning, and I went out, and I got a whole new set of friends.
That would have been a good one. That
happened. I'm telling you. I kind of stopped talking to those guys. I didn't listen to that shit. I've got to get up at 6 in the morning. Right. Yeah, you need to quit doing that. You're beating your body up and blah, blah, blah. Well, okay. Well, I didn't pick up their phone calls. The greatest thing to do, here's the one thing about, I want to give to all you young people out there, whatever, as hard as your life might be when you think it is, or your interactions with other people are going to do what people are going to do. And there's no way you can make somebody pick up the phone, or ain't no way you're going to get somebody to get up and answer that call at 5 in the morning and go run. It's got to come internally, and it's got to be intrinsic to who you are. So I talked about that PhD is not just something of a you know, it's not an acronym. It's something, you know, you can't fake being poor, and you can't fake being hungry, and you can't fake being driven. And you know, as silly as I am on the other side of the equation, I'm on the polar opposite of that. I'm as serious as you can be. In fact, they're representative of each other. The crazier I am over here shows you how serious I was over here. And you need those duality, kind of like that dichotomy of emotions and energies to offset it. Because if you're just one side, you're going to go crazy. So you got to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. But I've seen one state title. I'll give you another story here. One time, Tom Brands, Terry Brands, and myself were going out to Colorado Springs, and we had rented this shitty Saturn from Carl Chevrolet in Cedar Rapids or whatever, and we were driving out there, and of course, Terry and Tom were just beating the hell out of it. So on the way back, tire blew, because we took it up to Pikes Peak, and we were just doing crazy shit. And I wasn't. I don't ever drive when those two are in the car. So we're going up. We get to a place called Sterling. Mm-hmm. It's on the way back from Denver to before you hit Nebraska. I think that's the name of the town. Tire goes flat. So we're in there, and we pull it in. We go to the gas station, and it's Tubby's tires, and gas, whatever. So hey, we need a new tire, and he goes, well, we don't have these tires here. We looked in here. We're gonna have to send somebody from down to Denver. It's gonna be a couple hours. You guys can go eat. So okay, and they go. Yeah. By the way, that Tubby, who owns this place, he's a state champ. He won the state title in 1972 or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. It's about Gable's age, a little bit older, a little bit younger. So we said, okay, we went over to the restaurant, we ordered food and this and that, and the lady goes, well, Tubby, he won the state title across the street. He's born and bred here in Sterling. Oh, wow, that's good. That's great. Yeah, we heard that, blah, blah, blah. Then we go over to the grocery store to get some waters and this and that, and just same thing again, cashiers. So we go back to the gas station. Here waddles in this 5'2" fat, balded, hey, I won a state title back. So I tell everybody that one state title can raise a station of a whole town. It can raise the spirits of it. Remember back in at the state tournament. Guy from Stanwood, Lincoln Stanwood went. First guy to ever go to state. Their school closed down. Yeah. And they put 3 school buses up there.
It's crazy.
And anytime you have 3 buses from Stanwood up there in Des Moines, Iowa, they are a long ways from home. And Stanwood's just another Mechanicsville without the glitter. So it's Stanwood Mechanicsville up there.
You have to be from Iowa to understand this type of humor.
150 people from Stanwood and Mechanicsville in Des Moines, Iowa.
These are like the low Royce Alger jabs of all small town Iowa because Lisbon's the supremacy.
Well, they say in Stanwood that town hasn't grown in 50 years because every time a girl gets pregnant, a guy leaves town. Is this thing on?
Well, speaking of being on, we're gonna go into a special segment right now, just real quick, and we'll get back to the Alger story. Well, this is gonna be the time of the episode right here that everybody's gonna want to tune into. But every week we are gonna do a nobody knows section. Oh. Yes, nobody knows. This episode's nobody knows section is sponsored by my boy Josh Sturgill at Consolidated Medical, and we want to know. And let's keep this rated R below, Royce. We can't be getting kicked off YouTube. First episode out the jump.
I don't think we're that edgy yet.
No, it's been good. It's been good. We're just gonna ease it into it. But give us a story that nobody knows. Well, I mean, your closest people. Whatever your closest people know, but like the masses, nobody knows. Royce Alger.
Well, this is one of my austere stories, and it has to do a little bit with. It has to do the last trip I went on with Dave Schultz, and we were roommates. And he would hang out clothes and show me how to make spaghetti in coffee pots, and he spoke fluent Russian. I don't know if people know that. And then we would, at the end of the tournament, we would go down to a place called Arbat Street in Moscow, and he had dark chocolate and cognac, and we would go out and drink and eat dark chocolate and play chess against the locals, and it was unbelievable. But that whole time, it was like a 28-day camp. We had a training camp in Minsk, and so I was rooming with him, and he showed me all the tricks and the trades, and smiles a lot, and he at every workout he had this little black book that he'd write in it. And he'd write, and Dave Schultz would never leave with the team. He always stayed over in Russia. He said, you guys go. I'm going to go to Stockholm. I'm going to go here. I'm going to make my way back through Denmark. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. So he never was congruous to rules and things. And I remember one time he left out 2 days early And I was cleaning up our room, and I never even told his brother. I never told anybody, and I have never opened that book up. But I found that book, but I always felt like I shouldn't have read that book, so I didn't. And no one knows that. So that's kind of a steer. You asked, no one knows, but all the great wrestlers that I know, have kept some kind of log or some kind of thing. They were very circumspect, especially the competitors. I write about twice a week. There's no reason. There's no reason why I don't have a lot of material, because I read and I muse and I write. And I just know that there's certain enigmatic minds out there, all of them, Gable, Schultz, Tom Brands, very well written, very cerebral, very circumspect. And if they have something that resonates with them, they're going to write. Now, people would give money for that black book.
Now, did you take anything out of that and apply it moving forward?
No, I didn't look in the black book.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you looked at it.
No. I will say something. There was other scribblings, and if it's anything like that, it was like break them arm, break their will, blah blah blah. Something more along the lines, not technical so much, but I never opened it up because he died that about 5 months later. So I didn't mean to turn this into a morbid whatever, but you said no one knows.
Yeah.
I know. And it's at the farm in the basement. So where I keep a lot of other secrets and all the other dead bodies.
Speaking of dead bodies, who is the toughest teammate that you had back in your day?
Chris Campbell.
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal. Chris Campbell is 10 years my junior. He our senior. He won it in 78, and I won it in 88. We're both undefeated 2 years. We're both two-time national champs. We both took a silver in the world together, but I got a call from him going, "Hey, I'm thinking about training." And I'm like, "How old are you?" And he said, "Don't worry about that." Because he didn't wrestle, he didn't try out for 84 or 88, and he came back. He wanted to make the team in 80. So I would go through workouts. Like I said, push out.
Because he was voted the most technical wrestler in the world in 1 year in 81. And I mean,
he won the world.
That's a big deal for an American, especially back then, right?
I felt it. I brought my boy.
Well, what made him so good technically? I'm just curious about that.
You just couldn't get him out of position.
Really?
Club him. I mean, with these rules, that's how I would have tried to beat somebody like that. You can't take him down like Gutches. Gutches was almost impossible to take down. You beat him up and push him out, which I agree. And I'm going to digress a little bit. I'm so glad we're getting rid of that grounding rule. It's such a chicken shit rule. And anybody ever came up with that? And another thing, too, we need to get rid of the weight limitations. These kids are so much bigger now. Chris Taylor, we never have a story about Chris Taylor. Yeah. Like I said, I digress. My mind moves quick. But Chris Campbell was phenomenal. The only guy that would have gave him, I would imagine, I never got to wrestle Mark Schultz. But with the parterre, if you put people down, but you ain't taking Chris Campbell down. You're going to have to get him down in a parterre or a technicality. I watched him win Krasnoyarsk in Tbilisi. We went to the first year they had Krasnoyarsk, the last year they had Tbilisi. I watched him win 12 matches without giving up a point. He gave up one chicken shit push-out point. And that wasn't fair. He didn't even take it down in 12 matches. Didn't get scored on.
Against all the best Russians.
All the best Russians, and you got shitty refs. The hardest thing about winning Tbilisi is not just because it's a tough tournament and you got to blow through 5 or 6 Russians. It's because the Tbilisi refs. It's a bunch of people from Tbilisi. They don't give that up. So I've had some unbelievable times over there.
Well, I bet. Wow.
Yeah.
What's been your most unique, I guess, international experience? From
probably
a weight
first
cut
one,
or like a weird thing you ate or just something internationally that just comes to mind right away.
Oh, by far. The first time I went over with the Brands brothers in 94, and I was traveling on an old passport. I didn't know that you had to use the new one you got. I loved my old one, and it wasn't clipped or anything. I didn't know why I couldn't do it. I just lost it, and I was going to Istanbul with Gable. He was a head wrestling coach in 1994. So I went and got another passport. And then when the Russian trip, I won Sunkist, so I get to go to Russia. And all of a sudden, I took my old passport. Well, this is this is like 91. This is before they won the Worlds. So this was 91, right when the wall came down in 90. In Russia, remember the wall came down? And I get over there and they pulled my card right away. And then they handcuffed me to a guy from Afghanistan, Azerbaijan. They did. They handcuffed me to him in the chair. We're back to back. And you guys with experience with handcuffs out there, you do not pull on them because they get tighter and tighter. And the harder you pull. So I'm trying to talk to this guy in a broken language, and he's yelling at me in Arabic or whatever the hell they got. So they finally, here's the great thing about this story. It can be validated. Terry Brands fought his way. When they handcuffed me to the floor, or it might have been when I was still handcuffed to that guy from Azerbaijan. Terry wanted to come in and make sure they weren't killing me because he'd watched that Midnight Ride, that Midnight whatever, that movie about guy in Turkey that gets, what's the name of that movie? Midnight something?
Midnight Run?
No, it's not Midnight Run.
No?
It's something else. Midnight something. What? Midnight Express. It might have been, yeah.
Leave it,
So good job. Good catch over there. And he saw that movie enough they knew that they could have tortured and killed me. And we had the president of the United States get involved to get me an emergency passport. So I waited there 28 hours. I was handcuffed to a chair that was cemented in the ground. So that was better than sitting down. So at least I could sleep. I was in my Foxcatcher long jacket. And Terry comes in, fights his way, and he goes, I just want to look at him. I want to see his eyes. So I look up there, and my eyes are like, get me the hell out of here. So they go down, and they left. I had to go catch the later thing. I actually caught up to him later because it was a 4-day train ride out to Krasnoyarsk.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and I was sucking weight. It sucked. And this big, heavy, portly guy comes up with a tripod camera. And I'm sitting up there taking my passport picture. We got to issue a new passport. It costs $2,600, and this is 91. So that in today's economy, that's got to be like $4,000, maybe more. And I'm sitting there, shit, that's 35 years ago.
Wow.
So put that in your hat and smoke it. So I'm sitting there, and this portly guy goes, he talked real slow. It's like, oh. And he goes, this is only the second time we've ever had to do this. And he had kind of like a Humphrey Bogart kind of drawl to him or something. And I was just like, oh, really? Who's the first? He goes, well, 1974, Bobby Fischer. This is KCJJ. We're coming at you with the hits. So I was like, okay, he just gave me the greatest topping story I could ever have in my life. If anybody starts running their cake hole at a party saying, I got this story, I go, shut your hole and sit down. I'm about ready to hold court over here. I got handcuffed to a dissident in Moscow. I'm the second passport that's ever been issued behind enemy lines. So shut your hole and sit down.
If it wasn't for Bobby Fischer, you'd be the first. And that's a pretty big deal to follow.
Yeah, I'm glad I followed him. I get who gets in the middle. And then I was down in Cuba one time. He was a big hero down there. I guess he went down. Yeah, Bobby Fischer went to Cuba. I didn't know that.
Wow.
They got pictures of him and this and that, pictures with Hemingway. And I mean, if you ever get a chance to go to Cuba, Trump screwed that up for all of us. Probably going to get Secret Service at my house.
No, I heard Cuba was amazing. Yeah.
Speaking of Secret Service, this year, so my son's a singer, and he sang the Star Spangled Banner at the Nationals down in Tulsa 2 years ago. Okay, so he was with Trump, so he gets to hang out and hobnob with Trump, yada yada. And he's my son, so that's Royce Alger's son. That gives you a little step. You know how that goes. Just us wrestling is very esoteric. They were close. So I'm in Philadelphia, and Eli goes, "Dad, I got to get down to Trump." I go, "Are you crazy? People tried to kill that guy about 4 months ago. You ain't getting no clue." "Dad, I got to try. I said, "All right, here's my band." Of course, it was a 2018 NCAA band, planchette from 2018. Try to get down on the floor, take this envelope, write a letter to him, tell him you want to get, because he was trying to do raise some money for the town of Spencer. So Eli says, okay. So he goes down there. Of course, he gets handcuffed and he gets thrown in a little. So he's on his phone. He sends off one. They're handcuffing me right now. I'm over in an adjacent bar about 600 yards away, enjoying the.
You're in the bar?
Ready to enjoy the finals. And I'm like, all right, I got to go in. So I was like 007. So I go up there. I walk in the front door, and all I can hear on the radio is, "Be on the lookout for Royce Alger. He's on. He's on." So I go in there, and I said, "Listen, I'm Royce Alger." Whoom! They handcuffed me with them little white zip ties. Like I can't break them. Don't try to break them, though. They'll cut your hands. But they picked me in a back room, and they just let Eli and absconded him from the building. So they're going through just, they've got everything that I've ever done in my life in these 4 pieces of paper. That's why I tell people I want to run for public office in my 60s to piece together my 20s. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, listen, the guy lives in a Winnebago, a motorhome down in Nashville. If you want to go in there and try to extrapolate a fine out of him, good luck. So they put me through the ringer, kicked us both out. So we go back and we're hanging out. And I'm like, Eli, that's a bad move, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. You told me to give him an envelope. And I wasn't thinking about the ricin and people trying to kill. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You can't do that. So I get home. I don't know how we got in the story, but it was police, I guess. Yeah. Handcuffs. I get home to my house. I walk in there. There's 4 cop cars at my house at 9 a.m. and 2 guys from Kansas City, Secret Service. And they walk, "We need to talk to you." And I said, what's this about? And he goes, "You know what this is about? This is about Philadelphia. You gave your son a fraudulent identification." And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "So what do you want from me?" And he goes, "Well, we'd like to do a psychological eval." And I said, "Well, all right. I'll let you crawl up in here, but if you can't get out, it's your fault." So they sat down for about 20 minutes with me and go, "Let's get the hell out of here. This guy's okay." But
it would have been interesting psychological.
No! I told him, "You can come up here, but you might not get out."
Well, let's bring it home with this on this note. So 2 things with this right here, and this will probably bring up a couple stories. But so good buddy of mine, Josh Sturgill, obviously the one that sponsored the Nobody Knows section. He was at the Iowa camps a couple years ago, and he asked me about this. But there's a sign up above the penalty box, I think, that you put up there, said, "The older I get, the better I was."
Yeah,
I guess we couldn't really. Yeah, we couldn't really end on a better story than that. I mean, is that the way these stories get better the older you get, Royce? And what is a penalty box do?
That was an old. First of all, that's an old W.C. Fields. A cigar is just a cigar, but a woman's just a woman, but a cigar is a smoke. You know, so. He was him, or Fatty Arbuckle. I'm a big proponent of the old guys, so that's where I got the better. More time goes by, the better I am, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I put the penalty box up there because all the little sallies that we get come in, get multiple stallings or just wasn't carrying their shit, Gable would abscond them to the penalty box. Of course, I was never in the penalty box, but for any of that stuff, I mean, my penalty box was a real penalty box out the Iowa City PD, but
which is going to be a whole other podcast.
Oh God! But anyhow, I would, and I finally put up there because there's so many Sallys up there. You know, the way you penalized people at Iowa, this is the paradox, is you didn't let them work out. They had to sit up there and watch other people work out. Put the signers up there sometime, tell them they can't wrestle. It's crazy. The mentality and what was built and hewn from that mind of Gable. Yeah. It started and stopped with Gable. But I just finally had to put up there, Royce Alger was never here, you little Sallys. I think they still have that up there.
That sign still up there?
I think so, but I think they might have taken it down to the other room now. I don't know. I'd have to look into that, but yeah, I've had a lot of fun with everybody. So I kind of try to be that common denominator that unites.
Yeah,
Iowa wrestling. Well, I talked to Gable for a half hour today. You know, he talks about when people take the breaks. When I won my first Midland title, he gave me 2 days off, and everybody was pissed off at me and him. But he goes, you don't know, he just beat Andre Metzger. This guy needs to run for a little bit. And so he got a good read on me. My junior and senior year, no one had any more fun and kicked more butt than I did. You know, and that's what we need to get back to, realize that this sport is here to make us better and enhance our lives, not control them with losses, you know. And that's where a lot of people fell short at Iowa. You know, here I am 30-some years later from my career. It'll be 40 years since I won a national title at Iowa here in 2007, you know, or 97. 87.
87.
Yeah, 87. It'll be 40 years next year. Wow. But to still be relevant and still be a guy that you want on podcasts and still be, I tell everybody I kind of made it to the Willie Nelson phase of my career. You know, those old guys are like, oh, just leave Willie alone. He wants to smoke a little dope and who's he going to hurt? You know, I kind of reached that legendary status of being the old school, the coach's coach. When I go out to Colorado Springs, I coached both Steiner and Zadek. They're the coaches. Tom and Terry Brands, both, I coached them. I was a senior when they were true freshmen. Think of the impact I had on their lives and their trajectory of their training. You remember how much I used to torture those guys?
Oh, yeah. That's
why I walk on water back there. Yeah. I have 4 seats behind the team anytime I want it. So,
yeah. Well, we're going to end with that, Royce. And this will not be the last time. We've already got it booked, me, you, and Lubu. Look, ladies and gentlemen, to tell you what, that is something that definitely look forward to. I'm going to have in one room here in the future the legendary Heisman house on one podcast when I go and visit Iowa, and I cannot wait. And but this was a great one to start out with, the great one himself, the fall guy, friend of mine.
We'll be back. Here's another thing. I'm going to do this shout. I'm going to take the floor from you.
Come on in.
I'll be back this summer. I want to do a workshop with you. So I'll bring Randy out and we'll put him up and feed him.
Yeah.
Give him a place to run around.
Of course.
Give him a place.
Legends Workshop. We're going to call it right now. Legends Workshop.
Well, we'll do a 3-day thing. Let me finish up on what I want to do with short offense. And I really am serious about my hand fighting. Gable just told me today that it's one of the most needed things out there in wrestling right now, that people are out showing hand fighting. Everybody wants to think it's all down the mat. You can't even get there unless you can take positions. So I'm here to help out, and we'll have you push it a little bit, and we'll have a nice summer.
You already know. Royce, appreciate you, brother.
All right, man.
Okay. Until next time. Thanks so much for tuning in, people.